Welcome to Life's a Coach. Our mission is to empower individuals like you to take charge of your life, discover your purpose, and elevate your performance to new heights. Each week, we'll be diving into engaging discussions, introducing you to valuable tools from the coaching world, and giving you different perspectives on individual development. Whether you're seeking clarity, motivation, or a fresh perspective, we've got you covered. Again, welcome to Life's a Coach, where the power to transform your life begins now.
Welcome back to Life's a Coach, guys. My name's Eric Claremont. Today we've got life coaches Avril and Sofia in the house. How's it going, guys?
Doing well.
Love it. Absolutely. So we've got a treat for you guys today. We're breaking the mold a little bit, and we're going to be jumping into a little bit of an ice-breaking session, right? So we've got these cool cards, okay? We don't get any cut or percentage from obviously showing these, but best self icebreaker cards. And basically, they are really just different categories of cards that we're going to be drawing from the pack, and we're going to be asking our life coaches the answers to their questions. There are different categories on life, random, deep, experiences, if you could, and would you rather, right? So those are the categories, and I'm going to kind of just be drawing random cards. So if today is not as smooth running as it usually is, it's because we're on the spot. And also I'm dealing with a little bit of a cough, so excuse me if I need to clear my throat. You guys ready?
Ready.
Okay. So I'm going to go blue to start with, which is experiences. Okay. Ready. Okay. This is a fun one. What's the most unexpected thing that's ever happened on a date?
We start with dates.
I know. It's not even deep. I would think that that's like love. Okay. Any takers that want to go first? And I'll go first because I've got one.
Okay, then you go first.
I think I've spoken
about first.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Yeah.
So on a date, I'm not going to obviously mention any names, but I'd mentioned before that I went on a date and the lady was like, I feel like she was trying to get me drunk. Like I went to the bathroom, she had like tequila shots on the table, and then like she like kept ordering margaritas, even though like I was not done at all. So that was a bit embarrassing. But midway through the day, it's like super late and we're sitting outside and there's like another group of women sitting kind of adjacent to us, and she was really drunk and she started getting emotional, talking about like just some personal stuff that she was kind of going through, but she was like literally in tears, like shouting, screaming, and like yeah, like it took a little bit of wiseness and smoothly trying to get her out because she wanted to keep drinking at this restaurant, and like the manager had to like come to our table and check that everything was okay, and so I was just like, oh my god, like I was a little bit wasted. I was a little bit drunk as well, and like I'm just like, oh my god, like what is going on, like how do I...
Wait, was it a first date?
It wasn't a first date.
Okay.
It was like maybe like a second or third, so I was like completely out, just
Okay.
caught off guard, but that was not a fun one to deal with.
Okay, cool.
All right, who's
Thank
next?
you for sharing.
On to the next one.
No. This how this works. Everyone's.
Do you want one question each?
No. Everyone must answer. What's the most unexpected thing that's happened on a date? The blank faces. Unexpected, surprising.
Man, I mean, somehow when you said unexpected, my mind went to something that's like on a negative way. But there's some unexpected things that happened on a date that were also positive, right? I would say Wow. I can think of one. We
Okay,
can go
pass.
to...
Get one pass every 3 rounds.
Okay, I'll take my pass.
Okay.
Sophia.
Uh, in my case, it went to the other way around. Like I thought about positive things that happens, and I think I already shared this before. But it was not during the date, but the day after or 2 days after, I had a post-it on my car with just some, I would call it punchlines, but just a simple text mentioning things that we did and that we spoke about during the date. So
Oh,
I think that was really cute.
That's
he
really
was
nice.
smooth. He was smooth.
Yeah.
Smooth criminal. Love that.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right,
Awesome.
moving on.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go to random. If you had to relive the same day for the rest of your life, what would you choose and why?
Ooh.
I'm not going first this time. Avril, you're up.
If I have to repeat the same day,
Yeah. To relive.
oh, I didn't know they were gonna be like these questions, huh? Um,
I
That
can
one's going
go
to sound super
first.
crazy.
yeah,
I think
go,
that's
go,
one. Sorry, can I go,
Yeah,
April? Then,
please.
go ahead, Sophia.
I think it's a very hard one when you're positive about life, when you really enjoy experiences and that you're not putting too much on one experience versus all the others that you live. So it's also a little bit like, oh, this is so hard because you have experiences with friends, you have experiences with family, you have experiences by yourself, and you would like to name it all. But the first that came into my mind was the day that my nephews were born. So that experience of becoming an aunt, I think it's a feeling and a joy that I really enjoy to experience. So I would say that.
Love that. I would say.
Not nephews, sorry, nieces. Sorry. My
I would
sister
say.
would kill me.
Yeah. They're going to get upset if you
Yeah.
make sure you clear that up. I would say mine is clear just the day that my son was born. But not for the, you know, obvious reasons, because I don't think I realized how much my life would change. Do you know what I mean? But like, oh, hello.
Sorry, my bad.
No, you're good. Yeah, so more just I didn't realize how much my life would change and how different, you know, that would kind of change my outlook on life and how I live life and how this little kind of person could just shift everything, you know. So that's pretty easy.
Amazing.
All right. For me, I'll say the very first day. Actually, there was a time when I was at a retreat, right? Wow. Okay. There was a time I was on a retreat, and it was the first time I'd had, I would say, plant medicine, right? But it was the first time I had like psilocybin, right? Yes, and I
Never
had,
done.
yeah, and the experience that I had just from feeling one with everything and getting this understanding about, as if I just all of a sudden in that moment I knew what the whole world was about, right? And how I connected into everything and where I'm from and what I'm here to do. Just that moment, that day, it's not just the experience that I had whilst I was on the plant medicine, but it was like even the setting, the outside, we're outside in the desert, the moon was out, the people around me was just so loving. It was just everything about it was just beautiful, and that's the thought that came to mind for us to think about that. And I would go back there and relive because just having a deep connection with everything, like the land we're on, the ground, the people around me, and within myself too. Like all of it was just amazing. So I'd go back to that space.
Yeah, I wanna do one of those plant medicine. I've never done plant medicine, but
Hmm.
I want to, like, psilocybin. I've heard is a very euphoric experience. So it's pretty cool. I like the the range that we have here going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna go deep.
Mhm.
When you die, what do you want to be remembered for?
He lived full and died empty.
It's easy.
Tell us
Easy.
more.
Yeah.
um, there are people like Michael Jackson, Martin Luther King, like Gandhi. The people who leave an impact in people's lives, right? So I just want to be one of those people. Like in my generation, I'm known for doing some kind of good or helping people elevate. Like they'll read books about me and like this guy, So as long as it's something good that actually, even long after I'm gone, people are still benefiting from what I bring, whether it's a song, whether it's a book, whether it's, something that when someone gets hold of that information that Avril did, it will help them or benefit them in some way. That'll be what I'd want.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, mine would be similar. Like what I want to be remembered for is really just how I lived my life. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Almost hopefully as an example to everyone else, right? But really, like, I want to be remembered for not having any regrets, right? And not like having lived my life to the fullest, you know? So that's kind of what I fear on my deathbed is like the what ifs, like these experiences and these things that you didn't do. So yeah, definitely that.
Okay. Miss Sophia?
So the first thing that came into my mind is something that I really wear as a badge, like it's acting with kindness all the time.
Mm.
And maybe that's it, that each path that I cross, people will remember, even if it was like a second of connection or a lifetime of connection, that kindness was always present. And kindness is not agreement, always being in agreement, but being respectful, being aware that we are all human beings. So, yeah.
Okay. Nice. Acting from kindness.
Love it. Okay, we're going to go to the if you could section.
Mm-hmm.
If you could visit any place in the world, where would it be and why?
Oh, I know that.
Okay, go Sophia.
Yeah.
Okay.
I go
Go
first?
ahead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's Tibet. It's my journey of a lifetime. The place that I've always wanted to visit.
Mm-hmm. For me, there's one place I haven't been to yet that has been on my to-go list. I wanna go visit Japan and be around during the cherry blossom season. Just want to go experience that.
I would say I want to visit the Amazon
Mm-hmm.
and I want to go on one of the, ayahuasca retreats.
There?
Gotcha.
In the Amazon?
All right. So what haven't we done yet? Let me see. I guess we've done Would You Rather. We haven't done Would You Rather, right?
Oh my God. Would you rather makes me think that this is a time for laughing.
Yeah, these ones are a bit funny. All right, just the next one. Okay. Would you rather have a rewind or pause button on your life?
Ooh, not a rewind.
was very.
I told you that this one is
Very
going to
natural.
be 1.2 minutes.
Ooh, ooh. I would have a rewind. It's like, okay, I had two thoughts. The first thought was like a pause. I'm like, yeah, there's some time that just want to pause everything and just chill and get some rest and then play again. Right? But the rewind was like, you know how the earlier question was like, if you could go back in the past, where would you go?
Mhm.
Right? So if I had a rewind button, I'll go back to some of the good memories when I need to just get myself in a good vibe. So I'll go for the rewind.
Why did you say what you said, Sophia? That was freaking so natural. So you've been thinking about this for your whole life.
It's probably because I regret nothing. And maybe I think that it's more important just to live experiences with what we also have as learnings. I don't know if this is making any sense, but I learned with the experience that that I had in the past, and I really enjoy living by that. So yeah, I wouldn't go back. I would just try to live it now with the things that are here.
So you'd press the pause button?
I
Or
have
the
another
rewind.
option. Only two options. That's very limited.
Pause and rewind. Yeah, pause and rewind.
Big one.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I feel like having a button just to pause and nothing happening. It would be amazing.
So which one?
Which one do you choose?
Yeah,
the pause.
Which one? The pause button.
Oh,
Okay, I chose the rewind.
You chose rewind. Yeah.
I chose rewind. She chose pause. Okay, yourself, Eric.
I would choose pause. Because I like, yeah, like I would like to think that I want to live in the philosophy of like no regrets and like, you know, I'm going to learn from my experiences, but you know, I don't ever want to go back to them. So it's kind of like what I would like is like what I feel that I need, what I've been trying to cultivate for the past few years is presence, right? So in certain experiences, I feel that I've been guilty of not fully being in the moment. So like I feel as if that pause button could be like, like when you're either so much in the experience that you can't really experience it, or you're not fully experiencing it all and you're just like, you know, somewhere else, right? You're thinking about the next thing. I've always been like that. So
yeah,
I think that pause button would be good for that, to be like, hey Eric, like pause, like okay, just be here for a second. You know what I mean?
Okay, so here's my thoughts on that. If I could just say something.
Yeah, please.
If you have a pause button and it stops everything in life, right? That means I can literally press the pause button and just freeze everything. Then my mind goes back into the history, so I'm not still present. You get me? Because I'm still thinking about what happened.
Yeah. So you're actually going. It's actually doing a rewind.
That's
funny. Oh, that's funny. That's a good way of putting it. Oh man. All right, let's go back to experiences. What is it? Okay. It's a good life coach one. This one's about life. What do the first 30 minutes of a typical day look like?
Can you repeat that again, Eric, please?
What do the first 30 minutes of a typical day look like? Morning routine.
Routine.
I'll do breath work and meditate a little bit. And then I will journal and like kind of plan the day.
That's a lot for 30 minutes.
Right?
Nah, 11 minute breath work, 6-minute meditation, and then.
Oh my god!
He's on point, man. He plans everything down to the T.
Nah. I'm teasing. It's not like that.
I get out of the bed.
I bet Eric would be that kind of person. Like, okay, honey, it's time for sex. Okay, now we're done. Now.
We're gonna stick to the schedule, man.
Everything is scheduled.
Stick to the schedule. That's funny.
It's interesting. Mine has been evolving with different seasons. I think we had a podcast before where we spoke about something like this before, like our typical routines and stuff like that. And I remember like a year ago, I would typically be like within the first 30 minutes of each day, I would get up and either go for a walk. Right, that's how I used to ground myself when I was in California. When I moved out here, a lot of things have changed, but of late it's just like get up, go into the shower, then meditate or ground or find something. But now it's like straight into the shower each time I wake up. That's what I'll be doing the first 30 minutes.
I'll go outside
Mm-hmm.
for a walk. I have a dog, so it's like I don't get to choose. The dog chooses for me because the time for her it's like, let's go outside. We need to go outside. So,
I mean,
Yeah.
but that's one
But
of the
it's
most
also-
generative things that you can do when you wake
yeah,
up.
it's also one of the very best things because I get some daylight energy,
Mhm.
and I don't take my phone with me. I don't take nothing out from the essentials to go outside, and I just take also some time to think, to like do a, if you call it, a walking meditation, things like that. So it's
Yeah.
time for myself as well.
Love it. A look into the life of a life coach's first 30 minutes. All right, let's go back to if you could change one thing about the way you were raised, what would you change?
Oh, Eric.
That's a tough one.
That's a deep one.
Wow. It's crazy because I, like Sophia, I can't say I have many regrets in life, because I see who I am and how I am, and I know it's because of all the things that have got me to this place in my childhood, adulthood, everything. But if I could have a different experience that I would love to try out, I would want to try out, is grow up in one location and spend all my life in one space. In that, for me, I don't have one of those childhood friends or place like, me and Bob, we go way back, because in all my childhood, I used to move. Every 2 years I was moving, right? And even in my adulthood, all the jobs I've had, I've been moving from the UK to the US. And even when it's like my life has always been moving, and I get my sole purpose, and I'm down for it. I'm still for the ride. I know, what I'm here to do. However, at times when I'm interacting with different people that have just been in one location for a while, and I know some people look at me and go, "Oh, me, Avril, you've traveled. Do you want to be you?" kind of thing. And I get that. But if there's one thing I would also want, just having a family unit in one space, and also a tribe, or friends, or group, or just doing that whole life in one space. It's interesting that I would want to have that experience, and I know most people would want to have what I had.
Yeah, if you allow me to go next, Eric, I would just say the opposite of what you said, April. So I've lived my whole life in the same neighborhood, and the first thing that came into my mind was, I would love that I would just move around and had this possibility of experience other cultures, other languages, more close to me. So yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, for me, don't get, just to be clear, I do love how my life has been. And on a soul level, I know enough to know why I chose this path, and why I'm always traveling. Even the jobs that I get, I'm always traveling. And I don't typically stay in one location, even as a home, for more than 2 to 3 years, right? I get that. But there's part of me as well that's just like, I'd love to just experience that other side.
Yeah. Totally get it.
No, I love those answers.
Yourself?
Yeah, I was thinking about that while you guys were talking. Place-wise, I wouldn't really change anything. Just because, again, similar to
No.
you.
Don't base your answer
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm just
on what we say.
just
Like,
adding to. I'm just adding to obviously what you said.
okay, yeah.
But yeah, it was like I'm trying to skirt around the question. But no, like just because I think, yeah, my like I don't regret anything about where I was in my life. One thing like I would change about how I was raised is less to do with like how it would affect me, strangely enough, because it might have actually made things worse for me. But obviously, you guys know, obviously, I went through a divorce like when my son was like very, very young, 4 or 5 years old, and with like with my parents, they did the opposite. They kind of stayed together, even though they had some pretty tough, difficult years, and it was clear that they stayed together so that, like, for me and my brother, right? Because they thought it was the best thing. So I always wonder if they would have been happier. I know it was different, I guess, maybe from the financial standpoint, as long as they could have, like lived, a decent life, how much hopefully happier they might have been, in prime years of their lives, right? If they had kind of separated earlier, you know what I mean? And maybe been a little bit happier. So, but also that's strange because that would have affected my decision as well, right? Because one of the big decisions about why I pushed to be separated was because I really wanted my son to be in an environment where both of his parents were happy and he didn't have to see, his parents arguing because of the experience I had. So as he said, it has a knock-on effect for sure. So super interesting.
Awesome.
Okay, let's go back to love. Oh, that's a similar question. It says, what's something you disagree with about the way you were raised? I'm going to skip that. Okay. We'll go deep. What's something you find difficult to discuss with your family or friends? We'll take it out of the life coaching group. So like your other family and friends, because I consider you guys friends. Because if like I don't feel uncomfortable talking to anything about you, like anything with you guys. What's something you find difficult to discuss with your family or friends? All quite open people, right?
That was where my thought was going. Like, is it that I found anything difficult?
But like, is there something like I'm thinking more like maybe a specific person you struggle to talk? One conversation to need to have, and I don't even know if my mum listens to this podcast. I'm going pretty deep, so I guess she should probably be the one to know first. But I always wonder, like, because like one thing that I always think about was because like when my parents split, she left the house, and I always wonder like why she left. You know what I mean? Because I feel as if maybe a lot of my abandonment and stuff like that kind of comes from that trauma. So I definitely find it difficult to talk to her because I've never spoken to her about it before. But I'd like to have that conversation.
Wait, so what's the question? The question is, what's one conversation
What's something
you have?
you find difficult to discuss with your family and friends?
Oh, gotcha. Oh, for me, okay, I get it now. Okay, I'll say for me, it's my spirituality, my journey with that, because I'm a pastor's kid and I grew up in a very I'm sorry, it's religious, but yeah, it's a religious Pentecostal Christian family. Everything is all networked like that. On my paternal side, everybody, my grandparents were all in the church and leaders in the church. On my dad's side, the same thing. And my family is still living in that space. And yet I've walked out of the church. I don't consider myself a Christian anymore, right? But I am spiritual and I have practices and I walk my own journey differently. So I think that's been a conversation that I find challenging to do. Not that I avoid it, it's just that we've kind of found spaces where we're just like, okay, these are your boundaries. We don't talk much about that. Yeah. But I know it's one of those conversations that at times I can tell when the family wants to blatantly, they've got opinions, but they hold back. And I also am like, I'll speak your language because I also know your language, but here's the thing. It's like we can be talking about how God works, right? And typically I may use the word universe or la-di-da-di-da in my language, but when I'm communicating to them, at times I then use the language they understand, but we're talking about the same thing. That way, and I find myself doing that as well, that way at times to avoid, not say confrontation, but to avoid those moments, awkward moments, and those like, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. And you helped me with understanding what was mine, Avril, so thank you for that. I would say it's mostly with my grandmother, understanding not why I'm single, but in a way why I'm single. Because in the concept of her, you need to be in a relationship. You need to have kids. So this was something so most of you know, I've had a long-term relationship for 10 years, and it has been like 6 years now or more. No, more. And she keeps on thinking about that thing that happened like 9 years ago. And why did this happen? Why did you split like almost 10 years after? And because I'm still single. So I think this is one of the challenging conversations.
Sure. Interesting.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Yourself, Eric?
I did.
You did. My bad. My bad.
All right, let's go. Okay. If you could have any celebrity be your best friend, who would you pick? I'm picking Jay Shay.
Oh, come on.
How did I know? Come on. How did I know?
We'd be good friends, bro. I think we'd be good friends.
I did that.
I'm going out on a date with this girl, and she says, "Oh my God, you sound like Jay. You sound like Jay." I think like me and him, bro. You know what I mean?
Listen.
Like, yeah. Like it's like we could like, you know what I mean? Like it'll be funny, bro.
When we started recording the podcast, right? I had my partner, she was like, he sounds like Jay. Like I'm like, yeah. Now I don't know whether you'd be good friends with Jay because you got things in common and similar, or because you idolize the dude.
Yeah, exactly. I know the reason why I want to be friends, and the second reason I don't care about He's the coolest person. Like just like somebody who, like I think you said it the best. Idolize, like in the sense of like just somebody who obviously lives his life in a spiritual way, who goes deep and asks the difficult questions, but does it in his own way. Do you know what I mean? Does it in an authentic way, right? In a London way, in a way that like he can come to terms with. I think that's powerful for anyone. Do you know what I mean? And if you could do that version of your version of that, then I think you can live a very powerful and meaningful life, you know?
Oh,
gotcha. So the questions, if you could
have, I went a bit deeper than you needed to there. If you could have any celebrity be your best friend, who would you pick?
Ooh, be your best friend.
He'd be my life coach too, to be honest.
You should not put your
I'm
best friend
overthinking
being
this.
everything in
Maybe
your life, you
overthink. I'm
know?
overthinking.
Oh my God, Eric loves Jay.
Hey, if you out here, bro, it's cool. Hook me up, bro. Hook me up. Find me on the IG. You know what I mean? It's a bromance. It's all good. It's a bromance. Okay. Ravi can come if she wants to.
My God. I'm imagining
That's like,
Radi with Eric by her side. Like
Yeah,
Radi,
Ravi might not
what
like
she
me.
shows is that she doesn't have like any organization, any plan, any methods. Like Eric would make her
Sophia's
crazy
choosing
for sure.
Ravi.
No, not really. I'm thinking this is quite a hard one. There are so many celebrities that I really enjoy the way that they live their lives.
you see,
and
the
what
thing
they
is though,
spread.
one thing, the thing though that about celebrities for me is like, because I've lived in LA, used to have a chauffeur company, used to drive celebrities, meet people like that all the time, right? And one thing that I get is that at times, until now, until these days of social media and Instagram and stuff, even with that, but still, we have an image of who they are because of what they're famous and celebrity for, right? But I can't say I really know the person. You get what I'm saying? So, based on what I like about them, what I think they exude when you know what draws me to them, I can only base my answer on that. I can't say that's what they'll end up
The
being.
person.
You know who the person is. Yeah. Um. Dang. It's a hard one though.
Just pick one. But that's the thing. You don't know, right? You just don't know. So, like, you have to go on what you do know. Because I think, like, podcasts and stuff like that, like, there's certain mediums where you get to know people more,
Okay,
and
I
there's
know.
other mediums that you.
Oh, I know.
Okay, go. Ready?
Sophia, after
At
you.
the same time.
No, you go first, Avril, because I don't know how to say his last name correctly. So you go first.
Okay.
So I will
for
search
me,
for this.
okay. So for me, it's funny enough. It's Jim Carrey.
Oh, he's so funny.
Amazing.
And I know why. Because in me, of course, you know, I've done stand-up comedy. There's a comedian in me, right? And I also know a bit of his stories where he's at in his spirituality. And I feel like we could be friends in that way, that we would connect on just the way we see life, right? And also being people who are funny, like to see the funny things in life, and know that we are brought here also to make people laugh, kind of thing. You know, that. So I think I would want to get to know him more though. So, but he'll be someone I want to be friends with. He wouldn't be such, funny enough, he's not the first person to cross my mind, but having thought a little bit deeper about it, it's like, yeah, at least I know enough about him to know that, yeah, we could be friends. We got certain things we probably are aligned in.
Okay. Here I'm going because of what I hear people saying about him, but also because of the way of living. And it would be Andrew Duckham, the Know Thyself host.
Mm.
Andrew who?
I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, but I would say Duckham.
He has the podcast Know Thyself.
Know Thyself podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's the way also has of things that I hear when he speaks with hosts, of how the way that he does his decisions, with his spirituality, the way he lives, some decisions he has made in the past due to relationships. I don't know. I really enjoy the way that he thinks also. So I think I would appreciate to have him as a friend, like sometimes when I need some guidance and everything.
Okay.
Very cool.
Sweet.
Now we've given another podcast.
And you too. You two are celebrities, but I already have you as a friend.
Not yet.
Oh.
Thank you. All right, guys. So we're gonna have one more question from the deck, and then we have like one reflection card that will have like kind of like which should kind of round it all up for us. Okay. So the last question is coming to come from the Would You Rather deck, It says, would you rather be able to read minds or see the future?
Neither.
One that was quick. One
Yeah.
that was quick, and two, wow, really?
That was really
Okay.
Reading minds, do you know what can go through a person's mind? I don't know what
You're right. You're right.
Without your
You're right.
without your
You're right.
influence, yeah, but without your influence, I was thinking, I want to read minds because that's all I ever want to know is like, what is that
my
person
God,
thinking?
that would make
What
then-
are people? What do
But then
people's
if I
minds?
actually heard what was going through their head, I'd be like,
No.
dang.
stop.
And seeing the future. Okay, if you had to pick one,
Funny enough, right? Because when you said neither, I thought, nah, that's avoiding the question. But now that I think of it, I'm also like, wow, I wouldn't want any of those,
yeah,
right? I wouldn't want any of those. But if I had to choose one, if I have to choose one, I would rather choose knowing the future.
nah, I'm reading the mind still.
You're reading the mind, okay?
The
But
first
the question is also, and why, right?
But reading the minds,
No, it doesn't say why.
it would
but
be
I want to know
haunting.
why.
Reading the
Okay.
future, I don't know. There's a movie when the person knows the future and the person is always trying to change things so that the future
Like
doesn't
the
happen.
butterfly effect.
Is
Isn't
it
the
There
butterfly?
the
quite
butterfly?
there
Is it the
quite a
butterfly
different
effect?
movies out
There's
there
a
that
few,
are
right? Yeah.
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 Okay, so let's start with Sophia.
Neither.
Which one did you choose? And eh?
I said
I
read
can
minds.
go.
I said read minds. You said see the future.
I said see the future.
Yeah.
And what
I
did you
said-
go with, Sophia?
Okay, reading minds. I will not cross to anybody ever.
I will not grasp.
I
I will
would
not
stay at home.
snitch.
I would stay at home all the time.
That's so funny.
Okay,
I
I would
would
like to hear
only
the
know my
whys.
dog.
I'd like to
Uh,
hear the whys. I know the question doesn't have the whys, but I want to hear the whys. Eric, why?
Why we choose this, right?
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
why did you choose it? Yeah, it goes back probably to a part of me that's always wanting to be validated, feel validated, and feel, just as if, just like as if I know what they're thinking and feeling,
Yeah.
So I just always want to know why. I've always been like that. I've always kind of wanted to like understand people's actions, and sometimes I've struggled to kind of let go of like, okay, this thing happened, okay, let go. Do you know what I mean? I'd want to know why. Do you know what I mean? Like really why?
Okay. Sophia?
So I choose reading minds, but staying at home. No, I will go with what Eric said.
Uh-huh.
I would put a reason on the thought that the person is having, probably.
Well, you'd like give it's like you'd let's say you read my mind and you know what I'm thinking, then you'd what? Say it again.
I would start also think about why are you thinking like so I go with
Gotcha.
what Eric said. Why are you thinking like that? What can I do probably to change, to help, to so
Yeah. Okay.
probably this is the reason.
Okay. I got a reason why I don't want to know what's going on in people's minds. All right. Because
Me
Eric,
too.
right now, I could be saying, "Oh, brother, let's do this. You're my brother, da da da." But what is might be my mind might not be that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, since anything that I only know what goes on in my mind, I'm like, nah, I don't want to know what goes on in anybody's mind. Heck, no.
Neither seeing the future.
Seeing the future, like I said, initially the outside, my thought was I was gonna say either of those, no, right? But if I had to choose the two, for me, the less evil is seeing the future. But with that too, is just like I'm only choosing seeing the future because it's for me of the two,
That's
right?
literally the only reason. You can't find any positive in it.
No.
Because that one's worse. The other one's
No.
worse.
So here's the thing too. Wow, this podcast is getting deep. So,
I thought it was already.
Aren't they all? Aren't they all?
so as you know, I've there's this retreat. I'm part of a spiritual group that has got a lot of psychics and mediums, right? Right. And I also grew up in a Christian family where I've been around people who prophesy, right? Some people, the Bible says you prophesy in part. So some people see stuff and some people don't, right? And some people get these little glimpse of what's to come. And with the group of the social, the group that I'm part of that's got these psychics and mediums, it's like there are some genuine people who know what's coming, right? Now, the effects that has had on me, just as I was learning about how all this works, is that sometimes knowing what's coming in times where you need the hope or encouragement is a good thing. But sometimes as well, just like, I don't know, there's something about living in the presence that helps me like if I know, okay, let me give an example like this. If I know that in 2 weeks' time I'm gonna win the lottery and I'm gonna be a multi-millionaire, right? In a month's time. The way I live my life between now and whatever date it is different than the way I live my life not knowing that that's coming. Do you get what I'm saying? So even experiencing the emotions, like let's say right now my rent is due, I'm going through some financial stuff, everything's all crazy. If I know that in a month's time, I'm gonna be in a different space, the way I operate from is different from the way I operate without knowing, right? And those emotions, being present to the sadness, the fear, the whatever it is, I feel like it's something, having the human experience is something that I want to have. Otherwise, if I know everything's going to be okay, then I may walk to, I'm not like cocky, but the experience of it is going to be different. And the flip side too, if you know that something bad is going to come up, like, okay, dad is going to die in 2 weeks' time. Nobody knows. And you know how you live that life, those last 2 weeks with your dad can also be like, you know. So I feel like those are some of those superpowers that I wouldn't want to have.
Imagine, Avril, we knowing all the time what Eric is thinking and 10 things at the same time. His mind is always going on, right?
Exactly.
I'm not saying a lie.
Yeah, I'm like, it's already noisy in my mind, right? Why would I want to tap into someone else's radio station that's got a lot of static and 20 songs playing at the same time?
And the other way around, when you think that the person has like a lot of good things happening in their mind, and if you know, it would be just junk.
Exactly. I mean, it definitely changed the way you see people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, exactly.
Oh, this was amazing. Eric.
That's so funny.
You
All
have
right.
a last thing for us.
All right, so to complete the conversation, we're going to do the reflect and connect card. So this is basically just a reflection, right, of what we've spoken about. So the card says, one thing I learned about myself through these conversations is...
One thing I learned about myself through these conversations. Man, what we just did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sophia?
Why me?
I don't know. I'm trying to like, let's pass it to Sophia first. I actually enjoy the fact that a lot of the times when we come on the podcast, we already know to a certain extent what we want to talk about and discuss, right? So what I liked about this conversation is that it was really on the spot, right? And it had me thinking like really deep, like, wow, I would have something come as the first thought, but then even in that moment, you know, then I have 2, 3, 4 other thoughts come through and go, wow, actually, I haven't been asked this kind of deep questions like this, you know? So, but yeah. So what the question is, what have I learned from having this conversation?
Yeah, one thing I learned about myself.
I don't like knowing what's in people's minds.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's ever asked me that before, so now I know. I don't want to know what's going on in people's minds.
It's funny that you say that, Avril, because this made me think that maybe one of the things that I didn't would like to read people's minds is because maybe I make something about people, what they're thinking, that it's not really what they are, and this may disappoint me.
Yeah, true. I mentioned that
Or
when I was talking
surprise
about.
me.
Yeah. It's interesting though, for me too, with that last question, is that, to be honest with you, I think maybe a decade ago or so, I might have had a very different answer to that. But this journey that I've been on, self-help, self-development, spiritual journey I've been on, a lot have been introspective, has been like going on in it. And it's funny you asked about how the question about what's going on in people's mind. Like literally yesterday, I had a moment when I was standing in front of the mirror, right? So since I did this new haircut of mine, I look a lot more like my mom than I usually do, right? And I had a moment I was looking at myself in the mirror, I was like, wow. I don't know why it came that way. It's like, wow, I wonder what goes on in her head, right? And I was reflecting on some of the choices and decisions we made when we were kids. Now that I'm also a parent, and I'm like, wow, I just didn't know what she was going through as a parent, right? And also seeing certain tendencies that I have that my mom has, where I can be reactive sometimes, and sometimes I can act without thinking, right? And I'm like, wow, I had so much grace for her now, reflecting and seeing myself in her and seeing her in me, that I was like, wow. Then the last thought that I have with that is like, wow, you just don't know what's going on in people's heads, in minds, right? And with that, I also know the season I've been in, how my mind has been just like all over the place, like crazy, is going. I was like, you know what? I don't want to be in anyone else's mind. I don't want to be like that guy, your podcast you mentioned, know thyself. I want to know me. I don't know what's going on there. No, I'm good. Let's not this. Because even in what you're saying, Sophia, I can project what I think you are based on my own thoughts of you. You know what I'm saying? So when I start knowing what you really are, then I get to see more too. That wow, it's not who you really are. It's what I've been projecting you to be. You know. But at the same time, if I throw a curveball there, all right? Have you also had the space that we are not our thoughts, right? I can be sitting here and have random thoughts pass through, but I can also sit here and consciously make myself think of certain things, right? So if I'm sitting here idle and I have a weird thought pass through my mind, and Sophia, you tap into that thought, that's also going to give you a perception of who you think I am. There you go. So I just don't know what's going on in people's mind.
Avril's gone freaking. He went into like 7 different rabbit holes all by himself. He just went in. He just rummaged around a little bit, and then he went back up, and then he went back in, and he looked.
That's why you don't want to know what's going on in my mind. That's why you don't want to know
what's going on. That's what you just did. You're like, I don't want to know anything that's happening in other people's mind, but this going on in my mind.
That's why you don't want to know what's going on.
Brain dump. That's so funny. But like to your point, Avril, I think one thing that I've learned about myself through the conversations is how much depth there is inside of all of us, right? And how much we can learn about ourselves from just that curiosity, reflection, and asking the right questions, which I think underlines obviously the power of a life coach, right? Is somebody who can ask the right questions. That, the number of times, right, Ava and Sophia, that we've both been like, whoa, No one's asked me that before. Or like, and
Yes,
then you go
yes.
somewhere where you might not even be ready to go, and you're curious but a little bit scared. I think
Mm,
that is a good place to be, because that's
mm,
where we're constantly unraveling these different parts of ourselves. And we don't need to know all of it, right? But I think, yeah, we're to your point. I think the overarching point of what came out from what you said, Avril, about not wanting to know other people's minds is, I think a lot of us are really conscious of what other people are thinking and other people are
mm,
feeling, when we're
mhm,
not tapped in enough to what
mm,
we're thinking
mm.
and feeling,
Sure.
because we're always thinking about
Hmm.
other things, right?
Yeah,
The exterior, right?
yeah.
Rather than asking ourselves those internal questions. So I guess, yeah, for
Can,
me.
And just
can I, sorry, Sophia, can I just respond to say
go
something
ahead.
to that Eric question pause for you? Like, and I think of this in another way too, like as a life coach, right? And you got a client in front of you, and if you have the power to know what they were thinking, look at how that would affect that dynamic from an authenticity space too. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm.
So it's one of those things that I'm like, some of these seemingly superpowers, I guess that's the point I was trying to make earlier on when I was talking about seeing the future, knowing the future, and how it affects the 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 way the experience between what's happening today and what's coming. Is that for me? I feel like it takes away the authenticity of the experience that I'm supposed to be having. Because if you have a client, Eric, uh not even okay, we'll start as a client, right? You've got a client and they're coming to you with some stuff, and you can tell what's going on in their head, all right? And you also hear the conversation that you're having. They can be saying, you know they can be thinking 10 things but only express one out of those 10 things, right? And if you know all that, what are you responding to as a life coach, right?
Yeah.
That's number one. And number two, let's move that and not put the life coach situation. You have a partner, you have a girlfriend, you have a child, so that's how we end up at some point becoming a curse than a blessing. The way I
Mm.
look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. And I would say that that's the power of asking questions and asking, as Eric was saying, meaningful questions to getting to know the other person.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I also would really loved about this is, of course, we have known ourselves for quite a while now, but how vulnerable, open, okay, like honest are we with each other? Just to being able to answer this like so honestly.
Yeah.
So for our listeners out there, I think it's also something that you can consider when being in relationships, friends, family, partners. Like if you have this kind of vulnerability, honest, not being afraid of the things that you will say, it's because it's a safe corner. And when I remembered how Jean always is telling us that here we are in the safe corner. So yeah, just share.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
All right, guys. So hopefully our listeners have learned a little bit about us today, and obviously how many rabbit holes we've gone down. It was fun and a lot of laughs and a lot of jokes. Let us know the parts that that resonated with you. Maybe we'll post a couple of questions online that you guys can kind of share with us, and would love to know more. All right, guys. Sophia, Avril. Until next time. See you next
Till
See
week.
ya.
next time. See ya.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode of Life's a Coach, where our conversations aim to empower and support your personal growth. Until next time, remember that personal development is ongoing, so keep exploring, keep learning, and keep living a life that aligns with your true purpose. Take care, and we'll see you on the next episode of Life's a Coach.